Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you've been following along, you already know how hard Tu Diem and Toan worked today helping harvest sweet potatoes for Miss Tufan. Now we're getting into the second half of the day, and this is where things get really emotional. After handing over that heavy sack to the market lady, Toan had to rush off to work. Meanwhile, Tu Diem stayed behind at the field for a while longer, digging up the remaining potatoes under the hot afternoon sun. When she finally made it to the market near the gas station, she set up her little stall with the fresh, sweet potatoes. You could see the tiredness in her eyes, but she still put on a brave face and started calling out to customers, "Buy some sweet potatoes, fresh from the field." She sorted them carefully. The bigger ones for 10,000 dong per kilo, the smaller ones for 15,000 or 2 kilos for 15,000. One by one, people started coming. A man bought 3 kilos of the large ones. Another lady took 2 kilos of the smaller potatoes because she said they cook faster when boiled. Tu Diem smiled and thanked every single customer, but you could tell her mind was somewhere else. She kept thinking about the wholesale price Toan got earlier, only 5,000 dong per kilo. It was lower than expected, and that weight was sitting on her shoulders the whole time. She deliberately set aside 5 kilos of the nicest big tubers to take home. She wanted to let them wilt a little and make cakes or boil them for Toan later. It was such a small, quiet gesture, but it showed how much she cared, even while she was exhausted and worried about money. As the afternoon went on, she kept selling. 2 kilos here, 4 kilos there. Slowly, the basket got lighter. By the time the sun started to lower, she had made about 95,000 dong from retail sales. Tu Diem sat down on a small stool for a moment, counted all the money in her hands, and added it to the 200,000 from the wholesale deal. The total came to 345,000 dong. She stared at the bills quietly, her fingers turning them over again and again. You could see the mix of emotions on her face. Relief that she sold everything, but also a heavy worry. She whispered to herself, "I wonder what Miss Tufan will think when she sees this money." That moment really hit hard. After working so hard all day under the burning sun, after worrying about the low prices, after pushing through exhaustion, she still wasn't sure if it would be enough or if Ms. Tufan would be disappointed. She took a deep breath, put the money away carefully, picked up her remaining basket, and started walking back under the late afternoon sun. Her steps were slower now. The road felt longer. You could see the weight she was carrying wasn't just the potatoes or the money, it was the responsibility and the love she felt for the older woman. When she finally arrived at Miss Tufan's house, the golden light was already soft. Tu Diem stepped into the yard, holding the money tightly. Ms. Tufan came out to greet her, surprised but happy to see her. Tu Diem handed over the full 345,000 dong with both hands. At first, Miss Tufan's eyes lit up with gratitude. But when she heard the full story, how the wholesale price was low because of all the small potatoes, and how Tu Diem had worked so hard selling retail, something shifted. Miss Tufan looked at the money, then looked at Tu Diem. Her eyes started to well up. She gently pushed the money back and said she couldn't accept all of it. She told Tu Diem and Toan that she already considered them like her own family. She only took the retail portion and told Tu Diem to keep the rest. The emotion in that moment was so real. Tu Diem stood there, tired from the whole day, but suddenly overwhelmed with warmth. Miss Tufan even invited both of them to come back for dinner that evening with her aunt and uncle. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It had become something much deeper, a quiet acknowledgement of care, gratitude, and family-like bonds. Tu Diem left the house feeling lighter than she had all day. She walked home with a small smile, even though her body was exhausted. When she got near her house, Toan was already there, waiting on his motorbike. He had finished work and came to pick her up. You could see the relief on both their faces when they saw each other. Tu Diem told him everything that happened with Miss Tufan, and Toan listened quietly, nodding with understanding. They went home, showered, changed into clean clothes, and prepared a small gift of fruit to bring back for dinner. The tiredness from the long day was still there, but something had changed. The hard work, the worry about prices, the heavy sack, the selling under the sun. It all felt worth it now, because at the end of it, they weren't just helping someone harvest potatoes. They had strengthened a real bond. Part 2. They arrived back at Miss Tufan's house as the sun was setting, the golden light casting long shadows across the quiet yard. The older woman had already prepared a simple but heartfelt dinner on the wooden table outside her modest wooden house. The smell of home-cooked food filled the air: steamed fish, stir-fried vegetables, and a big pot of soup. When she saw Tu Diem and Toan walking in with the small gift of fruit, her face lit up with genuine happiness. She welcomed them warmly, treating them like her own children. Soon after, her aunt and uncle arrived, and the table became lively with laughter and conversation. As they sat down together, Miss Tufan kept serving food to Tu Diem and Toan, making sure their bowls were never empty. You could see how touched she was. She kept repeating how grateful she was that these two young people had spent their entire day helping her with the harvest, even though they had their own work and responsibilities. Tu Diem smiled softly, still a little shy, while Toan listened quietly, nodding in understanding. The conversation flowed naturally. They talked about the big yellow sweet potatoes, the mice that had damaged some of the crop, the low market prices this season, and how everything had turned out better than expected because of their kindness. At one point, Miss Tufan's voice became softer. She looked at both of them and said she didn't see them as just helpers anymore. To her, they were family. She told them that even if the money from the potatoes wasn't much, the real value was in the care and effort they had shown. Tu Diem's eyes glistened a little as she listened. After a long, tiring day of digging under the sun, worrying about prices, carrying heavy loads, and selling at the market, this moment of recognition meant everything. Toan reached over and gently squeezed her hand under the table, a small but meaningful gesture that showed how much they had been through together. The dinner continued with warm laughter and stories. They shared memories from the field, the first big tuber they dug up, the moment Toan decided to carry the heavy sack so Tu Diem wouldn't have to struggle, and how Tu Diem kept selling until almost everything was gone. Miss Tufan kept thanking them over and over, saying she was lucky to have such good-hearted people in her life. The aunt and uncle joined in, praising the young couple for their hard work and kindness. In that simple setting, surrounded by the soft evening light and the gentle sounds of the countryside, you could feel the deep bond that had grown stronger throughout the day. As the meal came to an end, everyone helped clear the table. The tiredness from the long day was still there, but it was mixed with a beautiful sense of fulfillment. Tu Diem and Toan said their goodbyes, promising to visit again soon. Miss Tufan walked them to the gate, holding their hands for a moment longer, her eyes full of warmth and gratitude. On the way home, riding together on the motorbike through the quiet roads lined with bamboo, Tu Diem rested her head lightly on Toan's back. The wind felt cooler now, and the stars were starting to appear in the sky. Looking back at the whole day, it was so much more than just harvesting and selling sweet potatoes. It was about showing up for someone who needed help, pushing through exhaustion and disappointment, and discovering that real connection and care are worth far more than money. Tu Diem and Toan had started the day as two people simply lending a hand, but they ended it feeling like true family. That quiet, heartfelt dinner under the evening sky became the perfect ending to a long, meaningful day. What a beautiful reminder that sometimes the hardest work brings the warmest rewards. If you enjoyed this story of Tu Diem and Toan, let me know in the comments which part touched you the most. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because we have more real-life stories from the countryside coming soon. Thanks for watching until the end. See you in the next video.